Blended, Chapter 1. Plunk, plink, rimple, rumble, tinkle, twinkle, boomble. I know that's not an actual word, but it's a real sound. I can create any musical combination of sounds on my piano. That's my superpower. I sit, hands pursed with thirsty fingers, as I get ready to play. I work hard at it, always trying to find the right melodies and harmonies. The upstairs, downstairs, scales that rise and fall, the 3 and 4 finger chords that stomp, the fingernail delicate tiptoeing up and down the keyboard, each touch a new sound, white keys, black keys, one at a time, chords all together. 2 keys make a different sound than 3 played together. 4 or 5 mashed at the same time is even better. I can do 9 keys, even 10, to make a chord, but to be honest, that sounds weird. Each combination at the piano is different. Bass, treble, major tones, minor wails, bass-like celebration, treble-like fears. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up, 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 down, 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 harmony, melody, chords, scales. The black keys play sad sounds, like somebody crying. The white keys sometimes laugh. Using only my fingers, I can make the black and white keys dance together and do whatever I want. When I play the piano, I rock. It would be nice if the rest of my life came together like some kind of magical musical symphony, but nah, not usually. Chapter 2. I started playing piano when I was 3, sort of. For my birthday that year, I got one of those plastic keyboard toys done up in cotton candy pink, the kind with fat keys that played out of tune and drove grown-ups crazy, but I loved it. I wasn't interested in any of the dolls or blocks or tea sets I'd been given. Only that piano, plinking and plunking on it nonstop. My parents had to take it away from me that night, just for a little quiet, and I cried myself to sleep. The next morning, I demanded that they take it down from the top of the refrigerator, where they put it out of my reach, and they played on it most of the rest of the day. I learned to pick out tunes, figured out the different tones of each note. I wanted more. So my big Christmas ask was always for a piano, top of my list. Even though my parents would tease me, pretend they'd forgotten, every other year I'd find a big box wrapped up in red paper, a toy piano, a red one, another pink one, each one a little better than the one before. I taught myself to create my own tunes and later to read a little music. Yeah, I was obsessed. But still, they were just toys, and usually some of the plastic keys would give out in a few months. The Christmas after I turned 7, there was no big box at all. I got a doll, which they should have known I was no longer interested in. Some clothes, a few art supplies for painting and drawing, and a couple of board games, which was dumb because we usually didn't sit down and play anything together as a family. I suppose it was selfish, but I was kind of mad. Finally, after all the gifts had been opened, Mom said, all chipper, I'm hungry. Let's have pancakes. Daddy said, just as cheery, good idea. Isabella, would you check to see if we have pancake mix? I couldn't figure out why he was asking me to do that, but it was Christmas, so I said sure. I checked the cupboard, actually found 2 boxes of the mix, and returned to the living room to report. Sitting in the middle of the floor, where just moments ago there had been only balled up red and green paper, was a huge box wrapped in silver. On it was my name written in large black letters. I gasped. Open it, my parents said together. I hesitated for a second, then tore through the wrapping. It was a portable piano, a real piano keyboard, a Casio. Oh, wow, I remember saying. It was black and shiny and seemed to fill up the whole living room floor. I was in heaven. With 88 weighted keys, it almost felt like a real piano. Built-in speakers, too, plus buttons I could push for rhythms like jazz beats and military and drums. I didn't really need those, but they added fun. I could record on it and play back stuff I'd created. It let me listen to myself so I could correct messed up and smooth out the hard sections. Mom signed me up for piano lessons at school. Daddy bought me sheet music. But even though my parents were the ones who bought it for me, they started getting annoyed at my constant banging on that Casio. Some days, they looked angry when they told me to give it a break, and it took me a while to realize they weren't really mad at me, but at each other. The noise probably jangled the nerves, and their nerves were plenty jangled. They'd always fought about stupid stuff, but now it seemed like they fought all the time. They bickered over whether we'd have hot dogs or hamburgers for dinner. They squabbled over whether I should wear jeans or leggings. An argument could break out at any moment over lost car keys, or bars of soggy soap, or burnt toast. Then there was the Kool-Aid incident. Who would have thought something as simple as Kool-Aid would cause a fight? But yeah, that was about 3 years ago. I guess I was around 8. They started arguing right before dinner. Daddy hated blue Kool-Aid for some reason. He said the turquoise color and the raspberry flavor just didn't make sense, so he wouldn't drink it. I was sitting at the table getting ready to pour myself a big glass of it. Mom's voice got loud. Daddy's voice got louder. By this point, I was shaking, really shaking. Then Daddy actually started shouting, and I dropped the entire container of the stuff on the floor. The pitcher broke. Blue, sticky mess went everywhere, and the shouting turned to bellows, and Mom started crying, and I knew I was in so much trouble. I ran to my room, curled up on my bed, and covered my ears with a pillow. When the hollering finally settled down, it was way past my bedtime. I tiptoed into the kitchen and grabbed 2 slices of cold pizza from the refrigerator. Mom and Daddy had forgotten about dinner and, apparently, about me. Chapter 3. I was just getting up the next morning when Daddy knocked on my door. "You awake?" he asked gently. "Yeah." "You okay?" "I guess." I sat up against my pillow. "I'm sorry, Isabella. I'm so sorry that the problems between me and your mom get all mixed up in your life." Mom was crying, I told him. I'm not sure if I was accusing him or wanting an explanation. Probably both. "I know. I guess all I can tell you is how sorry I am," was all that he said. "I'm sorry I spilled the Kool-Aid. I made a mess. And I know sometimes I forget to wash the dishes." No, 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 he said quickly. "You've done nothing wrong, not one thing. And it was our fault, not yours. We were being ugly to each other, and you shouldn't have had to hear it. I'm so sorry. None of this is about a drink that has too much sugar in it." He gave me a little hug and a smile. The Kool-Aid was just the thing we disagreed about at the time. It could have been about the carpet, the toothpaste, even the weather. We just can't seem to agree about anything anymore. Yeah, I've noticed," I said in a sort of mumble. "It's kind of hard not to." Daddy traced my nose with his finger. "We argue about lots of stuff, but never about you, Isabella. That we both agree on. We absolutely adore you. You understand that, right?" It was clear he wanted me to say yes, so I nodded. "Your mom is upset with me, Izzy, not you," Daddy went on. Weird. Daddy hardly ever called me by that. It was Mom's nickname for me. He liked the sound of Isabella when he said it out loud, but he'd always say, "None of this is your fault. So why are you two always yelling and mad at each other?" He nodded like I'd asked a smart question. He nodded for so long, I wondered if he'd forgotten what I actually asked. Then he said, because we've kind of ended up growing in different directions." I pressed my lips together, hard. This didn't sound like a good thing, so I told him, "But you're grown-ups. You're already done growing." "I'm so sorry," he said again. It made me kind of itchy, listening to Daddy keep apologizing to me. Somehow, that just didn't feel right either. Then he started sniffling. "Sweetheart, the thing is, I've been unhappy for such a long time. So was your mom. The frustrations just piled up. It's just not working anymore." Daddy was blinking hard. What wasn't working? Our family? Because of frustrations, he said. I gulped. I'd caused lots of frustrations. A couple weeks ago, I burned the cupcakes I was making because I forgot to set the timer. I lost my math homework, and Mom had to call the teacher. And twice last week, I forgot to flush the toilet. Ick. What was wrong with me? "Is it my fault?" I blurted out. "Oh, no, 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 no," he cried, reaching for me. "Isabella, you are absolutely 100% perfect. It's us, not you." He paused, then, and looked me straight in the eye. His face was so close that I could see a couple of beard hairs he'd missed when he shaved. "I want you to understand that your mom and I love you very, very much." I waited. I could tell there was a but coming. A reason, an explanation, an excuse. And it came. The worst but ever. "But we've decided that it would be better if I went to live in another house so that we can stop all this fighting." I shook his hand from my shoulder. "You're moving out?" I couldn't even make my mouth say the words. To where?" He looked down, traced the pattern on my bedspread with his finger. Then he said something even worse. "Isabella, I've been offered a job in California." "California?" I jumped out of bed and glared at him. "It's 1,000,000 miles away from Ohio." "How will I? When will I?" And I couldn't finish either question because I knew I'd start bawling. "You can visit every summer and at Christmas and spring break, and I will always be here for you, baby girl, always." He tried to sound positive, but it sure sounded like a load of fake to me. "Parents like to say stuff like that," I told him, balling my hands into fists, open, close, open, close. "But if you live in California, Daddy, you won't be here for piano recitals or my soccer games. You won't always be here for me. Daddy started with the nodding thing again. There's FaceTime and video chats and all that computer stuff you kids are good at. You can show me. We'll stay in constant contact every day, I promise. Those tears in his eyes were getting ready to fall. No, he was not the one who should be crying, even if he did look like the saddest dad on earth right now. So I said, pinky swear, to make him feel better, even though this felt way too big for a little old pinky. He offered me his left hand, strong and brown. I offered him mine, soft and pale. My hand was trembling, but then I pulled away suddenly. I had to ask him one more question. All the whispers and giggles and stifled remarks I'd heard at school kind of flooded my mind. Stuff I'd ignored or brushed off. I had to ask. I had to know. Daddy, are you and Mommy splitting up because you're black and she's white? He got real serious. He circled my face with his hands, so gently. Then he whispered, No, my precious Isabella. This has nothing to do with race. Please believe me. When your mom and I first met, we simply fell in love. We didn't see color. She saw me. I saw her. And for a while, that was enough. You gotta believe that. His eyes seemed to be pleading for me to understand. I said nothing for a minute, staring at him a long time, trying to memorize each inch of his cocoa brown face, his wide shoulders, his thick black hair. Slowly, I offered him my pinky finger again. I pinky swear that I will love you forever, he said, almost in tears. I bit down on my lip. No crying. No. Me too, is what I said. I didn't add that the idea of forever without my daddy seemed to me like music without sound.